What's up, everyone? Marc Lobliner, CEO, MTS Nutrition, Chief Marketing Officer, TigerFitness.com, creator of the Outright Bar, and partner in the Ambrosia Collective, as well as Iron Addicts Gym. We're looking at opening that thing up very soon, which means, well, in the next week. Yes, in the next week. But anyway, I wanted to get your attention real quick. Whatever your candidate, I don't care who it is, we have a Tiger Fitness shirt for you. We have the Tiger 2020 shirts out right now, whatever side you're on, or if you're like me, you're gonna wear both so you can trigger everyone equally, then I recommend you get these. They're the Tiger Fitness election shirts, and I'm gonna link them down below. Buy them, they're awesome. And of course, it'll trip people out. Just like wearing a red hat with letters on it that doesn't say Make America Great Again, but it makes people look. That's what we're doing here. And it's for a good cause. It goes to Tiger Fitness. So anyway, I wanted to just do an upbeat video. Look, guys, I'm an independent. Now, a lot of my values are on the side of conservatism. Where I'm pro-nuclear family, I'm pro-life. There's a lot of things about me, people assume that I'm a Republican, when in fact I'm not. The last party I identified with was Libertarian. I quit being a Libertarian because Gary Johnson was an idiot. So I was actually rooting for Gary Johnson. I was campaigning on my social media hard for Gary Johnson back in 2016. Then he opened his mouth and I said, no, thank you. And I ended up voting for Trump because I thought Hillary was Satan. That's it. I mean, that's the only reason I didn't want to vote for Trump, but I did. And I'm not denying it either. And this year, I'm probably, 100%, I'm voting for Trump. If that makes you hate me, that's your problem, not mine. Just because in the grand scheme of things, looking at Kamala, looking at Biden, looking at Pence, looking at Trump, I look at it like I like Mike Pence a lot. You have two men. One is 78 years old with dementia. The other is 74 years old who eats fast food every day. We're voting for the vice presidents. And honestly, I really like Mike Pence. And just that alone. And I've gone over my reasons in the past. Let's just say that, I don't agree with everyone 100%. I don't like Donald Trump as a person.
This guy is a loser.
But in this election, I feel he's the best person for the job. And also his administration with Mike Pence as the number two, being that they're all really, really, really old, has a better chance of taking over and doing a job that I would think is a good job. But I don't give a fuck who wins. I just don't. And here's why. You can only cry wolf so many times before the little boy just doesn't give a fuck, right? Like I've heard since I was a kid, if Reagan wins, the world's gonna fucking end. Vote Mondale, right? If Clinton wins, everything's gonna end, man. It's gonna be complete anarchy. If Bush wins, he did kind of start a bunch of stupid wars. But you get my point. America's still standing before this. If Jimmy Carter wins, if Woodrow Wilson wins, if FDR wins, if yada, 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 blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, we are a constitutional republic. We are not a democracy per se. Now, our voting process is democratic, whereas other than the fact that, we do have the Electoral College based on majority rule as who wins the election, so to speak. Of course, the Electoral College is the little asterisk next to that, right? Now, the beautiful thing is that even if you elect someone, they cannot go outside the boundaries of the United States Constitution. That's why we are a constitutional republic. We are not a straight democracy. So while I wasn't the happiest guy in the world that Trump won, Hillary was really, really bad. But I wasn't really afraid at that time. I'm not afraid now. All the people who didn't like Trump were saying they're going to leave the country. Guess what? Alec Baldwin's fat ass is still here. Everybody was saying that, he's going to start a bunch of wars. Honestly, that's where Trump has really over-delivered for me. Not only has he not started any new wars, but he's actually pulling troops out of countries to the point where he's had military generals mad at him for pulling troops out of countries. I am an isolationist. I do not like war. If that makes me a pussy or if that makes me whatever, it is what it is. I don't want to risk our men and women overseas in conflicts we really don't have a part of, which honestly, when you choose sides, that's how the Taliban came about, right? Trump has done better than I thought he would. Now, I did not think we'd have a pandemic on our hands. Did he handle it as good as I thought he could have? I'm the opposite of a lot of you, and a lot of you hate me for that, and that's okay. It's your right to hate me. I don't think we should have locked down at all, ever. I don't think we should have done the 15 days to flatten the curve. I think we should have done what South Dakota did. I think we should have done what Sweden did. But again, as you guys point out to me every day, I'm not a doctor. Okay, there you go. I said it. But that's my opinion. And even though I'm not a doctor, I have the right to have my opinion based on the doctors I do listen to. That's why when you go and you get a diagnosis and you're diagnosed with cancer, you get a second opinion, because Dr. Fauci isn't the all-knowing one, and he's been wrong more than he's been right. But I don't want to make this about that. I want to just tell you guys on the right and the left, look, Republicans, Trumpers, MAGA people, whatever the fuck you call yourself nowadays, if Biden wins, the world's not going to end. There'll be some executive orders that'll be overturned, and he's probably, let's be real, he's 78 years old. He's probably going to die within the first 2 years. Then you have President Harris. Just go by statistics. The average age of death in the U.S. is 78 years old. It is what it is. And let's be real, the guy doesn't look too good. Doesn't look too good. So you're getting President Harris. Now, if she takes over and she doesn't do a good job, she's gone in 2 to 3 years, or whenever Biden kicks the can, right? If she does a great job, hey, we get another 4 years of President Harris. If Trump wins, we've already seen what Trump can do. Not really that much. Not really that much. I mean, he made all these promises. He kept them. But at the end of the day, in your day-to-day lives, other than the uprisings and everything and the COVID thing, which none of us could have predicted, did your life really change for the better or for the worse? Now, I'll tell you this. My wife and I just talked about this morning. As business owners, you would think that we'd be like, yeah, dude, Trump saved us all this money. Trump took away a lot of our loopholes in the way we do our taxes. So our tax returns are actually not as cool as they used to be. Trump actually hurt us a little bit when it comes to taxation, because he took away those cool loopholes that we used to use, right? So Biden, at the end of the day, might actually be better for me financially than Trump. I said it. So if I'm voting, and also like lockdowns, if Biden is the pro-lockdown president, and I don't think he will be, I really don't, I'll explain that in a second, lockdowns are actually pretty good for my companies. I'm an internet company and I have a grocery brand. Yeah, we're pretty good. We're pretty good. I own a gym, but whatever. I mean, that's not the bulk of my earnings. I'll make that up on the other sides. So you got to look at the overall construct of our country. I think Ben Shapiro, I listened to him a while ago, and he said, everybody goes into office. Like, when I'm elected to Congress, I'm going to change this and I'm going to change that. No, you're not. You're not changing anything. You know why? Because our country is made to move really, really slow. If we did not construct this land to move really, really slow, every 4 years when you get a new president, you'd have a new country. All right, it takes a lot to change a constitution. It takes a lot to write an amendment. And also pay attention to your local economy. Pay attention to your local politicians. Pay attention. I'm admitting this. I've voted for it before, but I voted in very few gubernatorial elections. I don't think I've ever voted in a mayoral election. I don't think I've ever cast a vote for a mayor in 40 years on this planet. That's what, 24 years of voting? In 24 years of voting, I have yet to vote for a mayor because I just didn't give a fuck. What these lockdowns taught me is that local elections matter the most. In South Dakota, they don't even know that we have a lockdown. They don't even know that there are mask mandates. My local county, you'll see masks around because people are scared, rightfully so. A lot to be scared about, right? The media pushes this narrative that everybody's going to die, and that you might agree with them, right? But you don't see masks where I live, right? because our mayor is pro-freedom. He wants us to make that choice, whether we wear a mask or not, right? So our governor of Tennessee, he left it up to the local counties to make mask mandates. So for example, Nashville, which is extremely liberal, you have to wear a mask to walk down the street outdoors. There's rules for how many people can be in buildings. However, you jump over that line in Brentwood, which is about 10 minutes away, or Franklin, and you can stuff your restaurants full of as many people as you want, and you don't have to wear masks. And I go get my hair cut, and I get my beard trimmed, because even that's allowed where I live, whereas some counties have none of that. My kids are playing sports. A lot of counties, a lot of states, a lot of cities not doing that. My kids are in school. A lot of states, a lot of cities aren't doing that. So, I'm not saying run away from your problems. So if you live in California and you disagree with how it's being run, you have two choices. One is stay and fight for change. The other is leave and go somewhere that aligns more with your values. Remember, we are a republic made up of 50 states. Each state is sovereign. And I wanted to go over this. I wanted to do a video on this on its own. Everybody thinks of the Civil War was about slavery. And it was. But it was about more than slavery. Slavery was kind of the line in the sand. The Civil War was fought by the North, which was largely Republicans, led by Abraham Lincoln, and the South, which was largely Democrats. Now, the Confederacy was Democrats, right? Republicans were in the North. So what happened, which is funny because right now it's whatever. So what happened was the North, Lincoln's like, hey, we're abolishing slavery. And that was the line in the sand. And then the states in the South were like, no, you're not. You're not going to tell us what to do. We have the Constitution. We have the 10th Amendment. Abraham Lincoln essentially shit all over the 10th Amendment, and there was the Civil War. And I'm glad he did, because slavery is bad. However, that's the construct of our nation. Whereas the Civil War was not just about slavery. It was about slavery, but it was about a larger issue, which is states' rights. Parlay into what's going on now, states' rights are still there, which is why if I cross the state line into, actually all the states around me are pretty free and open. Tennessee and Virginia, I believe. If they even born there. So anyway, there's a town that's on a border right there. So half of this town is in one state, half is in the other. In the same city, there's mask mandates on one side of the street and no mask mandates or lockdowns on the other side of the street. That's how this country works. So don't trip. Don't let this ruin your friendships on Facebook. And don't be so mad. At the end of the day, man, that's what makes America great, is that we can have these differing opinions. Doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you have a different opinion than someone else. But I will say this, whoever wins the election, they're my president. Obama was my president. Bush was my president. Clinton was my president. And Trump is now my president. And if Biden wins, Biden's my president. And if going off statistics, if Biden kicks the cans and Kamala takes over, President Harris will be my president. That's how we work as this nation. We work together. And no matter what hand of cards we're dealt, we do our best to get along and make the most of it. And if you don't agree with something, that's where the First Amendment comes along. You have the freedom of speech and the freedom to peacefully assemble, with the emphasis on peaceful. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Don't trip. Be happy. Be thankful. Smile. That's not a game.